Cincinnati, about Cincinnati. What a team, what a team, what a team. Each man and lady from 1 to 80, how they scream, how they scream, how they scream.
Hey, Reds fans, this is Jack Greiner, and along with Randy Freaking, we're here for another edition of We Love Our Team. And today we're honored to have as our guest Eli Maiman. Eli is a native Cincinnatian and a graduate of UC's College Conservatory of Music. Eli is a member of Walk the Moon, which had a monster hit with the song Shut Up and Dance With Me, but the band's discography includes just a bunch of great stuff, including the albums I Want, Walk the Moon, Talking is Hard, What If Nothing, and Heights. And I spent my lunch hour on YouTube listening to Live from Irving Plaza, which was fantastic. I recommend it to our listeners to get on YouTube and check it out. But welcome. But Eli, as much as we'd love to talk about sex, drugs, and rock and roll with you, we're actually here to talk about your Reds fandom, and we see you got the jersey on, and you came ready. I feel terribly underdressed. We got Randy with his Reds gear, and Eli, and I'm wearing a very boring gray sweater here. But so I'm just curious, Eli. You grew up you were born and raised in Cincinnati, right?
Yeah, Madeira.
Right. And did you play baseball as a kid? Did you play knot hole or little league?
I did. I played. Let's see. I started in t-ball and played all the way through maybe 7th or 8th grade.
Okay.
And loved it. It was definitely, it was my sport. It was the one that agreed with me and that I had, some semblance of talent at.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. We have a raucous and unruly studio audience, Eli. You haven't figured that out yet. But what position did you play?
So I was a first baseman, which was a good place for me because I was excellent at fielding the ball. I was really strong and kind of fearless with my fielding, but pretty much for the entire time I was at first base, I had an undiagnosed case of the yips when it came to throwing the ball.
Steve Sachs disease.
Yeah, my dad and I worked on it all the time, and I just couldn't figure out when to let go of the ball. And then at that point I was too in my head, you know what I mean? There's nothing natural happening when I was throwing the ball. And so if I was trying to get it from first base to home, pretty much that you might remember, on the little league fields, there's that enormous cage behind home plate. That was my target. And if I could get it within that cage, that was a pretty good day for me. But I loved it. My dad coached for many years, which was great, which was a great experience for me. And yeah, it was great. I remember I stopped playing one year because I had some kind of cinematic dramatic idea of the year off. Maybe I saw somebody in a movie takes a year off and then has this huge return, the next year, and everyone's slow clapping as they walk over, you know what I mean? And so I took this year off to work on my game or whatever, and then just by the time I tried to re-enter playing with my friends or playing with kids my age, is everyone I don't know what everyone did that year. Everyone must have worked on their chops. Constantly, because I never got back into it. But that was okay because I phased out sports and phased in music, and that's worked out for me.
I like it. Randy, when you mentioned the yips and throwing, Randy mentioned a guy named Steve Sachs, and Steve Sachs, Eli, was a second baseman for the Dodgers who was really good. He was like rookie of the year, and he just developed. He couldn't make the throw. He couldn't make the throw, and his manager was Tommy Lasorda, and Lasorda said to him, he said, "Hey, Steve, how many people do you think won Rookie of the Year?" And Stacks was like, "Well, not that many." "How many people hit 300? "Not that many." Is how many people can make the throw from second to first? And Steve Stacks says, "Just about everybody." And Lasorda's like, "No, why can't you?"
Oh my gosh. Oh man, I feel for him. I feel for him.
You feel for Steve Sachs, absolutely.
Yeah,
Did you imagine yourself? Did you imagine when you were out there like you were a Red? Did you have a Red that you sort of had in your mind that you were emulating?
Yeah, I think that's a common thing when you're young, is that you are able to do things. You're able to do kind of extraordinary things because you're visualizing yourself as somebody who's really, really good at what they do, Like I had the same experience when I was playing guitars. I could like close my eyes and I'm Jimi Hendrix or I'm David Gilmour, or I'm one of these people who I've watched the tape over and over and over again and know what it's supposed to look like. And I think you have less of that as you get older. I don't know, you lose. You're supposed to like stop emulating other people and be the person that people emulate. You know what I mean? And so you lose kind of that ability to, what's the right word? Channel your heroes. It's a tough thing to hold on to. But I remember that. I remember that feeling of being like, for me, it was Barry Larkin. Barry Larkin was my hero growing up.
Yeah. Well, he was a worthy person to emulate, no doubt about it.
Yeah, definitely.
Did you get down to Reds games? Were you able to get down to games?
Yeah, we went down quite a bit. I remember my brother's 2 years younger than me, and he was also a huge Reds fan. And we had this idea that there was an ongoing Reds game at all times that we could just go drop in on. So we would come up, my brother would be like, "We're bored. What are we going to do? Oh, let's go to the Reds game." We would, put on our Reds hats and get our gloves and be like, "Mom, we're ready to go."
That's
and Mom's like, "There's no game. We're not going downtown, but you can go play. You can pretend outside." And, it was, it's what a remarkable game that it can be, it's obviously a serious sport, but it could also be like this place of incredible imagination and play for children, right?
Yeah.
You could go out in the yard and pretend to be doing a home run derby or whatever, and it's just like the best moments of childhood, pretending to be baseball stars.
Right. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Well, you're right. The ability to imagine and just think is, and I suppose you can do that in any sport, but I just, I think we've talked to so many people that, talked about growing up and throwing a rubber ball against their house and playing games that way and, and envisioning that it's the seventh inning of the World Series or something,
Right. So. You're like, you're calling the plays as you're doing the plays, right?
Exactly.
You're going Larkin, fields the ball, sends it out. Like you're doing like the whole thing as you're, It was awesome. It was so
doing
fun.
the play-by-play and playing. I mean, like that's not easy to do. That's multitasking. That is absolutely multitasking. Yeah. It's fun that you got to go with your younger brother. I was thinking about, we went one time, a friend of mine and I, with his younger brother when we were little kids. And when the Reds were playing in Crosley Field, which is down in the Queensgate area, Union Terminal, it was kind of close to Union Terminal. And we were pulling up to Crosley Field, and we convinced this guy's little brother that Union Terminal was the Astrodome. And we just had so much fun.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Eli, were you able to go to Riverfront Stadium, or did you start your Reds fandom at Great American Ballpark?
Riverfront was my stadium growing up. Yeah. And I loved that. I loved that era of names. You know what I mean? Of ballpark names, where it felt so specific to the location. It felt like, it wasn't nothing against sponsors. We all need our sponsors, but it felt so specific to Cincinnati. And, I don't know. I thought that when I think of baseball, for me, it's still Riverfront Stadium for me. It's still, because that's what made the space special. It's what was specific to my experience in Cincinnati.
Yeah, it was unique, man. I mean, we talk about just the different colored seat levels, and it's like, you talk to people who remember Riverfront, you could say, I was in the red seats. Well, they know exactly, well, you're up high, or
Right.
I was in the blue seats, and, and how nasty the ushers were if you tried to go from the red seats to the blue seats.
Oh, I would never. I'm too shy.
Never.
Absolutely. No. I sat in the seat I was assigned.
That's funny. That is really funny. You have any favorite moments as a fan? Anything you remember, on field that stuck out in your mind?
Man, favorite baseball moments. I mean, we've had, as Walk the Moon, we had the opportunity to be on the field with the Reds.
Oh, wow.
More than the average band got to be, which was really, really special. We played a game maybe 2017, 2018, and we were set up as the post-show entertainment, the post-game. You can tell which end of entertainment I'm coming from. All right, so post-game, there's a stage basically on a tractor that they pull out, and we get to play, in the middle of the field after the game. But we were there early for sound check, and the person who was supposed to throw the first pitch got caught in traffic or got sick or bowed out for some reason. And so they came to us and they're like, can any of you throw this first pitch? And everyone looked at me, who's had the yips since I was 9, and I was like, all right, here we go. Let's do it. Let's go. And so I practiced kind of in the depths of the stadium for a half hour before I headed out there. And when it came time to do it, I threw the ball. It was over the plate. It made it all the way there.
All right.
And I felt redeemed. I felt redemption for my years of lousy throws, So that was, that's maybe my most memorable moment.
That's awesome.
Ballpark. Yeah.
So you're going to play the guitar in front of 40,000 people, and that was no big deal.
No
but
problem.
Making that throw was
horrifying. Yeah.
Well, Eli, you also played at the All-Star game, didn't you, in 2015?
Yeah. We've gotten a number of opportunities to play down there, which is really lucky and really fun.
I was telling Randy, Eli, that I've known your dad for a long time, and we were on a committee. We worked on a trial advocacy thing during the summer, and your dad would say, "Oh, my son's band is playing here or there," and he never said the name of the band, And it's like, and then I saw him. I think the day of the All-Star game or the Home Run Derby or whenever it was, and I said, "Oh," I hadn't seen him for a little while, and I said, "Oh, how you doing?" And I said, "Hey, how's your son's band doing tonight?" He goes, "Well, they're playing tonight for the Home Run Derby." I go, "Wait a minute, that's your son's band?"
And he loved that you gave him the opportunity to just kind of slide that on,
Right in. Yeah. Well, it's perfect. He's a proud dad, and I don't know if you have any kids or not, but you'll experience. You got 2. Congrats! That's awesome. Well, you know what it's like to be a proud dad, right?
I do.
Huh?
Yeah,
for sure. So he was great, but I've told that story to a bunch of people. It's like, oh, I had no idea. I mean, I thought they were playing bars in Oakley or something. I had no idea. So.
Actually, tonight I'm playing my son's preschool family music night. Is the gig tonight? Yeah. So I'm looking.
Your son's preschool has no idea what they're in for. That's fantastic. I started playing guitar a few years ago, and I am a 3-chord strummer. But my grandson at he goes to the Jewish Community Center for preschool, and they had a talent show, and he asked if I would come and play with him because he's got a guitar. He's 6 years old, and he just kind of strums it. And I said sure, and we're gonna do the Unicorn song. I don't know if you know the Unicorn song, but it's a great song. It's Randy knows it. It was a hit in the '60s, but it's a cute little song, and that's what he wanted to do. And he knows the song, and so it gets time to play, and he was so nervous he wouldn't sing. Like I had to sing the song without accompaniment because he just was like he strummed the guitar.
Eli, have you had the opportunity to go to other ballparks around the country?
Yeah. I was thinking about this, but I think Cincinnati is the only place I've seen a ball game. So I went to Dodger Stadium and saw Fleetwood Mac and Journey and Blood, Sweat and Tears. I saw like this massive show at from the nosebleeds at Dodger Stadium, which is a different experience of Dodger Stadium. And then there's also in Boston at Fenway. So the House of Blues in Boston is directly across the street from Fenway, and Fenway has a field level bar that is open late. and so it's great because you can play a gig and get out of that whenever that gets out, and then cross the street and like drink basically on field level at Fenway, which is really pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Right. Which is it's a silly answer. Like, yes, I've been to several stadiums, but no, I've never seen a baseball game anywhere but Cincinnati. We actually great. the band got to play in Cleveland after a Guardians game last year. But my wife was like 8 months and 3 weeks pregnant, and so I couldn't. I sent my buddy to play for the band.
First thing first.
And stayed home and was on baby watch.
When did you start getting really serious about music, Eli?
That's a basketball story.
Okay.
It's a basketball story. Okay. So the basketball story is freshman year of high school. It was either junior high or high school. My first year, I go out for the basketball team and I don't make it because, as I've told you, baseball was the only thing I was good at. But I went out a second year and tried out again. And during a break at basketball camp, the coach pulled me and another player up in front of everybody and said, "Listen, you have Kevin here, who is a great player. He's probably going to make the team, but he's just going halfway on every play. He's got a terrible attitude. And then you have Eli, who didn't make the team last year, probably isn't going to make the team again, but he's hustling on every play." You could all be a little more like Eli, and so it was supposed to be nice, but it felt a little backhanded. And the next day I didn't show up for basketball camp. I practiced guitar instead, and that was pretty much my launch into music, into being serious about playing guitar.
Oh wow! Okay,
yeah.
So I'm just curious, just like when you started. Like, how old were you when you really first started playing?
I got my first guitar when I was 10. The lessons didn't take at first because they were following some kind of pedagogy rather than my interest,
Yeah.
And so the guitar got put down for about 2 years, and then I just started working on it myself instead of taking lessons. And that was really when I kind of discovered just like a greater interest and joy in I grew up in a house where there was music all the time. My uncle was both my uncles were fabulous musicians. And there was music happening, whether recorded or being played live all the time. So, so that was really what interested me. You know what I mean? Is I wanted to play songs. I wanted to play these popular songs that I had grew up listening to. I wanted to play the Beatles, you know?
Right.
I imagined myself as Paul McCartney, you know, like we were talking about earlier, you know, I imagined myself as that character, and that helped me kind of develop as a musician. So once I started kind of teaching myself and discovering what I was interested in, then I could go to lessons and kind of take that interest with me, you know, rather than just going to someone and being like, how do I do this? I can go to someone and how do I do this? Not, you know, this is a podcast, so these hands motions don't mean anything. You know, how do I do all of this? I was asking, how do I do this specific thing? And then that was more manageable and stimulating to me.
I think that's right. I mean, I think, you know, if there's any carryover between sports and music, and particularly young people, it seems to me like, you know, we could just burn people out and early on. And, you know, like I said, my grandson has a little guitar that he likes, and somebody said, "Well, you're gonna have him take lessons." I'm like, he's 6 years old. I think let's let him just have some fun with it for a while.
Right.
And you know, if he then wants to do lessons, that would be great. But you know, the worst thing you can do, I think, is put too much structure on it at too young of an age.
It's you know, it's impossible. It's impossible to know what the right thing is, because when I was at UC, when I was at CCM, there were all these kids who had done the Suzuki method, which is basically for like 3-year-olds. You can start when you're like 3.
Wow.
And these kids had incredible ears. You know, they could transcribe without an instrument to check. You know, they could just like hear the music, and they had such incredible technique because they had developed over these you know, at that point they've been playing for 15 years or whatever. And I was so jealous, and I was like, Dad, why didn't you start me when I was 3? you know, so it's just like, you know, but if he had started me when I was 3, maybe I would have burnt out, you know, who knows? Right. You know, it's tough to strike the right balance.
Yeah.
Tough to strike the right chord, if you will.
Did you have a band? Did you have a band in high school and play around?
Oh yeah. Town? Yeah. My band in high school was called Blue Point. And we played the band challenge at Bogart's for years and years, and we won one year. But it was it was my favorite thing, being in that band and being in marching band actually in high school. Were the best things.
What instruments do you play in marching band?
I played a different thing each year. I played trombone the first year, and then I played bass guitar in the pit the second year, and then the third and fourth year I played marching bass drum. Actually,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was great fun.
Were you self-taught on the bass, or because it sounds like you started on guitar? Did you kind of teach yourself to play bass, or? Yeah,
just through listening and playing in jazz band at school. Gave me like having music and like reading it and getting my ear tuned to that helped me learn how to play bass like a bass player and not play bass like a guitar player, you know, which is the thing that everyone does. You know, guitar players will pick up a bass and just overplay because they want more notes, you know.
Right.
How long did that band stick together?
That band was together 4 years. 4 years, and then I was in a new metal band for like 3 years after high school, Walk the Moon didn't happen until I was out of college. I was out of college. I was actually teaching in Madeira. I was teaching guitar in Madeira, and Nick, the singer, called me. I knew Nick. He was in Walk the Moon, but I had this other band, and Nick called me and said, "Hey man, we've got some big gigs coming up on the coast. I was wondering if you wanted to play guitar for it." And I was like, "Yeah, sounds great. when do we leave? And he was like, actually, we go tonight. And we really need somebody, so I'm hoping you'll come. And so I was like, great. And I got my stuff and got in the van, and that was pretty much it for like a decade. I was out on the road for a long time.
Yeah, you're like Lou Gehrig and Wally Pipp. Nobody would have ever heard about Lou Gehrig if Wally Pipp hadn't gotten hurt or injured.
Oh. Yeah, exactly.
How did the face painting come along? You guys would paint your faces on stage,
right? So that was kind of in place when I joined the band. It came from the Anna Sun music video. The guys made a video before I joined the band for the song Anna Sun, and it had kind of this dreamy Peter Pan and the Lost Boys vibe, and there's face paint involved. And then fans started coming to the shows in face paint. So we were like, oh, we'll do it too. And then it'll be this thing that, we have this community. And and that it's stuck.
That's fantastic. So I need to ask, I'm seeing, I can't count, but how many guitars do you own?
It's a very private question, Jeff. It's a very personal question. In the collection right now, I think the collection is 70 guitars right now.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I have two. And I can't convince my wife that I need any more. She's what do you need? I opened the closet door and I said, well, how many pairs of shoes do you have? I mean, it seems to me that two guitars is paltry compared to.
Well, Kathy probably uses her shoes, Jack.
I use my guitars, man. I use my guitars. It's just her point is I can only play one, so why do you need more than one? But it is. Tell me, I mean, do they feel different, right? And
sure,
and they have different tone and sound.
Yeah, I mean, they do. They have different sounds. They, my experience is that songs will write themselves on certain instruments and not on other instruments,
Okay.
And so you pick up a guitar and something falls out of it and you can't imagine having thought of that on another instrument, so they're all like really what they are is they're inspiration machines, and there are certain ones I can go to that I know something will happen on this instrument, and there are other things that I'm like I'm still getting to know, or and then also it's just some stuff I like, I just like those guitars,
Exactly.
and I can make, this is what I do for a living. Oh, I need the tools, and so,
right.
Yeah, I was really lucky. I was really lucky that a number of great guitar companies, would send me instruments for a while, and so do I need 7 Telecasters? Probably not, but they were nice enough to send them to me.
Yeah,
and
what are you
like,
gonna do? Say no? I mean,
yeah, right. I'm not gonna turn them away. So now we've got 7 Telecasters in the house.
It's like people send bats to major league players. I mean, it's just, what are they supposed to do? Not use them? I mean, come on.
Right.
That's awesome. So has Bronson Arroyo ever asked to play with you?
He's never reached out. No.
Oh no! I can't believe it, man. I can't believe it.
I know. I'm down to jam if you're listening.
Well, I don't know. We don't know if Bronson is on board yet, but maybe he is, and maybe you guys can jam together sometime. I was at an event earlier this year. He's pretty good. I mean, he's not bad.
I got to here's a football story. I got to play at the Bengals home opener last year.
Okay.
First, it was a very specific moment. It was the first defensive play of the fourth quarter. They wanted me to play "Welcome to the Jungle."
I was there. I saw you.
Okay, you're there. Okay, great. All right, great. So it seems like the Reds should have some opportunity, for me and Bronson to get out there.
You would
make it happen.
So here's what I want. Here's what I want the Reds to do. I want the Reds. I really mean this, and I've tried to get word to Phil Castellini to see if he would do it. But I think every time the Reds hit a home run, every time. Okay, they should immediately play the opening chords of "Smoke on the Water." Dun dun dun. I mean, how cool would that be? And the stadium's right on the river.
Yeah,
They,
it would.
they send the fireworks go up, so there is smoke on
Great.
the water.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, it would feel great.
Phil Castellini, if you're listening,
I'm sure he is, Jack.
And
I
you
got
know what? I know that song. I would be delighted to oblige.
That's right.
Bring me down.
There we go.
Yeah.
Eli,
Okay, Jack.
Eli will tape it. It'd be fantastic. I mean, can you just see that?
We got Kirk Herbstreit, who wants to be a guest play-by-play announcer or analyst. Now we've got Eli playing music. We're gonna start things here, Jack. Hey, Eli. After Barry Larkin retired, was admitted to the Hall of Fame. Any particular Reds fan or Reds player that you became kind of a fan of?
I mean, it's hard not to love Joey Votto, right? I mean, Joey. Did you guys see his Instagram post of him eating a donut on a bench and just missing ball?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's a first baseman, just like you.
I know. He's one of the games we played. We got this. I got a Joey Votto bobblehead, and that my 4-year-old loves. He loves this Joey Votto, and so I think Sam was 2 when he first got it. And my 2-year-old saying Joey Votto is what I think of anytime I say Joey Votto. And I've got that warm feeling of remembering my son just being like such a little guy, it's so Joey's got the benefit of being like interwoven with my memories of my son, my son being very young.
I don't know who performed it, but somebody performed a Joey Votto song. And it's like Joey Votto.
Great.
We listened to it on opening day at our tailgate.
Nice. Haven't heard it. Sounds great though.
So I want to know, Eli, you've gotten over the yips. You're now playing for the Reds.
Yeah, right.
You're coming up to the plate.
Oh boy.
What's your walk-up song? What's the Eli Maiman walk-up song?
I think it's this is specific. I think it's the last chorus of Don't Stop Believin'.
Okay.
Just when it's full nostalgia, like full euphoria. I think it would feel like an 80s sports movie, right? It would feel just right. It would be great.
Oh my God. I that is fantastic. That is fantastic. I used to love when Joey Votto for a while, he stopped doing it, but he had Paint It Black. There was just something about just, the intro to that song as he would walk up, and it was great. So,
yeah. I think Joey used, now I'm just remembering this. I think he used One Foot, one of our songs called One Foot, for a while too. Okay. Which is, amazing.
He is an interesting guy. I mean, I think last summer he started he started using Taylor Swift songs because Taylor was coming to town, and he just had different songs. I think I saw somewhere. Did you guys do "Shut Up and Dance with Me" with Taylor Swift at one of her concerts?
Yeah, at Gillette Stadium.
Oh my God, that must have been crazy.
Insane. Yeah, just the culture around her, like at the concert, just everybody's so nice and welcoming, and like when we're on tour, like we're getting like burgers and pizza brought backstage so we can have something to eat before the show. She had lobster and fried chicken catered, just like insane. And yeah, we did Shut Up and Dance with her, which was just the wildest,
Who is Taylor Swift? I'm trying to follow this conversation.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Come on, Randy. Come on, Randy. Is it hard when just acoustically when you're down on the field? Is that a hard place to play?
It is tricky. We have what are called in-ear monitors, which are, little speakers that look like headphones that go inside our ears and cancel out outside noise, so that all you have is kind of what's going to the soundboard.
Gotcha.
Which sounds like it's going to solve the problem, but when you're at Gillette Stadium, for example, and you're in the middle of the stadium, and Taylor Swift has a live microphone in the middle of that, you're hearing her voice, but you're also hearing the sound reflect back off the stadium and then come back to the microphone.
Oh, wow.
Like a second and a half later. So it's like the gnarliest delay kind of like distraction machine that you can think of. So like, I remember when we did that, we were trying to remember to smile, but also like clinging to the metronome I had in my ears, just clinging to the beat to make sure I didn't fall behind in front of 60,000, 80,000 people. Yeah, right. No pressure, Scariest thing of all time, though, was the national anthem. We did the national anthem for the Bengals a few years ago, and we sang, it was the four of us, 4-part harmony, no monitors at all, just us around a microphone on the field.
Oh,
and
my goodness.
that was the gnarliest, scariest performance ever.
Oh, wow. Did it go okay?
It did. It went well. I felt good about it. Something I have noticed is that sports fans on the internet can be very mean people.
Oh,
can be like really, yeah. And I remember it used to bum me out. Like, I would look at like Twitter or something after a sports performance, and it was just like just the gnarliest put downs you've ever read in your entire, it's like being in high school again or something. It was like like fully like being bullied by the jocks. And then, but eventually I like turned the corner and was like, I'm able to find it kind of amusing at this point.
Yeah.
So is it harder to play like in an open air stadium than an enclosed arena? Because of the sound, or is there really the same problem everywhere?
It's this in venues that size. It's the same. Sound wise, it's the same problem. Really the thing about playing a place that large is that it's difficult to connect with anybody. Like, everyone is so far away from you. How do you give them a personal experience? How do you make them feel involved in the show when they're a 10-minute walk from you? Right. We're like the shows where we cut our teeth and really like developed our fan base were club shows where you could see people that were right up on you, and like you're probably sweating on each other in one way or another, and so that was really how those were the shows that we were used to. So when we would do something larger, like we did Madison Square Garden a couple times, like finding a way to reach out beyond and connect with people along the back wall. That was really the challenge in that space.
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
Yeah. You realize when you're in those environments why certain bands, you really understand what arena rock is, because in that environment, detail is lost, Right. So if you're doing like something really intricate, good luck by the time it gets to the person on the back wall, So what you do instead is just go "Ragada," and it sounds amazing and it feels so good, and you're like, oh, that's why that did well in this environment,
That is awesome. Well, listen, we're up against the time, and this has been great. It's so much fun, Eli. Thank you for taking the time. And now we've got a project. We're gonna get Eli's version of "Smoke on the Water" to be played after every home run. So
that's right.
Let's do it.
Thank you, Eli.
Thank you, Randy. Thank you, Jack. Nice talking to you all.
Okay, we can allow the crowd to.
said, you're holding back. She said, shine, baby, dance with me. This woman is my destiny. She said, ooh, shine, baby, dance with me. The whole town's batting about Cincinnati. What a team, what a team, what a team. Each man and lady from 1 to 80, how they scream, how they scream, how they scream.